Hello everybody and welcome to Uproot Reddit. Time goes by pretty fast when you're constantly moving at the supermarket. I mean, from a store clerk's perspective. You get to meet all kinds of customers, both holding good attitudes and nasty attitudes. But nothing makes time go by so slow than dealing with an angry customer who just wants a cart for a cake? Now, hold on. What do carts have to do with an angry customer? More importantly, why cake? Well, Reddit user TopGorilla17 has an experience with a demanding customer for a cart that normally you wouldn't use just for one small item. In today's post, let them eat cake. Long ago, way back in the before time, I worked for one of those bulk warehouse club stores. My trade was simple. I was a wrangler of the Silver Buffalo and dutifully retrieved the old ghetto strollers I did. The job in and of itself wasn't the worst I'd ever had. I got plenty of exercise, got to be outside, and generally didn't have to interact with the members. Calling them customers was taboo, for the most part. The thing about this job is that the company I worked for had a, reputation for being cheap. Thusly, more often than not, I was on my own out in the parking lot. Big whoop, you might say. You gathered carts. You should see how hard my job is. Yeah, well, shut up. This is my story, butt munch. But, I digress. The reason that being alone sucked is that this store didn't have just one kind of cart. Oh, heck, they didn't even just have two kinds of carts. You had your classic garden variety cart, the kiddie cart with the plastic facade to make it resemble a car, the electric scooters, which weren't supposed to leave the store but did so with alarming frequency, and finally, the bulky, hard-to-control flatbeds. On top of that, whenever someone needed help loading their haul into their minivans, I was the guy they called. Because the greeters, cashiers, and managers were all busy. As you might expect, one man cannot be in multiple places at once, and as a result, on some of our busier days, it became incredibly difficult to keep enough carts in the vestibule. Our story begins on one of these days. So there I was, chugging along like a good worker drone, struggling to keep up with the sheer volume of people coming in to buy cheap bulk goods. Sure enough, I get a call on the radio. TopGorilla17, we need you to help some members load their purchases. I'd love to, but I'm barely able to keep up out here as is. Just do it, TopGorilla17. You can afford to stop gathering carts for 2 minutes. And in the words of Ron Howard, he couldn't. I didn't want to push my luck, so I complied. After spending 20 minutes loading people's purchases, because when one person needs it, suddenly they all need it. I came back to find my vestibule a near ghost town, save for a single line of carts that was half gone. And the Karen. I won't waste time describing this specimen. She was the prototype. You know what she looked like. There she stood, menacing, tapping her foot with such speed that could make any metal drummer green with envy. You could collect the contempt in her gaze in a jar. Where are the big flat ones? I blinked for a moment. I'm sorry? Ugh, Mexicans. For the record, I'm very much white. Where are the flat ones? Oh, you mean the flatbeds. I'm sorry, I was just helping some other members load their merchandise and haven't had a chance to. Oh my gosh, I don't care about your excuses. You have one job, and a trained monkey could do it. Now, I just want this lady out of my face, so I don't fight it. Sorry, ma'am, I'll grab one from the parking lot for you. You better. So I go back out to the lot and find a whole line of flatbeds sticking out of a coral blocking several parking spaces. I push them all into the vestibule where she waits, huffing about how I'm wasting her valuable time. I separate one from the rest and bring it to her. I'm terribly sorry about the wait, ma'am. She leers at me with utter malice. Unbelievable. And with that, she dismisses herself into the store where she will be someone else's problem. I shake my head and return to doing what I'm paid to do. About 15 minutes later, I'm returning a line of carts when I see her pushing her flatbed to her Miata and jawing about stupid people, most certainly referring to me, on her cell phone. You know what she had bought? What she had insisted on having a flatbed for? Wait for it. A cake. A cake of all things? Really? I mean, I can understand getting a vase or getting, some garden tools, anything that's big enough for a flatbed, anything that's big enough to fit on a flatbed, but really? A cake? That better be one giant cake. I mean, you don't want to be like a Lay's chip bag and take up so much space just for one tiny little thing. Anyways, we continue. This wasn't even like a big cake. It was one of those little circular numbers. And definitely everybody knows what those look like. Anyways, I witness as she continues to yammer on about how I nearly ruined, I tell you, her precious baby's birthday party when the most glorious thing happened. Still clutching her phone with those giant-alized scoop claws of hers, she attempts to pick up the cake with one hand, the plastic topper pops off, and she spills the cake all over her undoubtedly expensive designer outfit. Seething with white-hot rage, she locks eyes with me. You, get me another cake now. Terribly sorry, ma'am. I've got one job, and these carts won't gather themselves. Well, when your words come back to bite you, that's why we always gotta be careful what we say. I walked away with a big grin plastered on my face as her shrieks faded into the distance behind me. Now, I've had my share of nasty customer interactions before, but this one really took the cake. Yeah. Well done, Top Gorilla 17. A very smooth pun indeed. Now here's an edit worth considering from Top Gorilla 17. Quote, after posting this, a handful of you fine folks suggested that I should write a book. Well, I did. PM me for the link if you're interested. Okay, so buying a cake and then using a flatbed to put your cake on there? Yeah, that's not absurd and obnoxious at all. I mean, I think if you want a flatbed cart, you better get a flatbed-sized cake to go with it. But, all that fuss was all for nothing, huh? Seriously, parents who fuss at everyone, including their own kids, just to blame others is a poor reflection of their attitude. Unfortunately, Reddit user The Carfax has a mom who consistently blames them for a health incident that, honestly, isn't their fault. In today's post, my mom blames me for her breast cancer. To go so far as to blame your own child for breast cancer, that's a pretty low blow. But here's the full story. Quote, just as the title says, my own mother blames me for her breast cancer. She was diagnosed around 2 years ago and has been making a strong recovery, but she still blames me. We don't have the best relationship and many fights have caused stress, but to say that I'm the cause is really heartbreaking. The worst part about all of this is that she has been heavily smoking for as long as I, who is now 22, could remember. There was not a time I don't remember us not smoking at the smoke shop whenever we go out. And even though she's in remission, she still smokes about half a pack a day. And yet, she blames me for her breast cancer. Now, it got so bad that she even lies to our doctor about it. We still go to the same family doctor, so there's that. But one time, when I was alone in the room with my doctor, she asked if my mother was still smoking. My mother would come into the office reeking of cigarettes, so it was pretty obvious that she was still smoking regardless of cancer. When I told my doctor the truth, she confronted my mother, and my mother got mad at me for making her look like a liar. Honestly, not really sure what to do about this. Any advice is appreciated. Just know that I have talked to my father about this, and his response is always, "Oh, that's just your mom." So he's of no help. Honestly, look, if you continue to blame others for your own misconduct and how you handle your health, things aren't going to get better. This is just sad that these experiences are normal nowadays. So, the car facts, you are not to blame. Stay strong. And I hope you get really good advice from other people as well. But until then, that's all the time we have for today's episode. We'll be back for more nonsensical posts right here on Uproot Reddit. And as always, stay safe, stay strong, and stay healthy, everyone. We'll see you all next time.